And we're live. Quite a big day we got going on here at the Trish Regan Show. I mean, you've got Nancy Pelosi potentially being charged. Pam Bondi just put her on warning, so that's huge. You got Letitia James going on. I mean, you got the ballroom situation. My gosh, you name it, it's happening. Never a dull moment. DOJ, Pam Bondi putting Nancy Pelosi on notice, telling her to save all her emails as it relates to any of these alleged ICE arrests. In other words, this is total impeachment, guys, and she's going to be in a whole lot of trouble for it. You get Letitia James finally getting her day in court, meaning she is now being charged officially on 2 counts of mortgage fraud. This is serious. It comes with like up to 60 years in federal prison. She's pleading not guilty. We're going to get into the hypocrisy of all of it. It comes as CNN anchors get ready for a very rude awakening. It seems that this company, its parent anyway, Warner Brothers Discovery, is going to be sold. And when that happens, bye-bye, CNN, bye-bye. It's been nice knowing you. Not really. Anyway, the lefties are losing it over this ballroom. My gosh, you'd think he just completely torched the place, for goodness sake. So, I didn't see any of the same kind of frustration from the left when Barack Obama spent $376 million back in 2010, renovating the White House for his personal abode and also putting in a basketball court, getting rid of the tennis court. Oh, please. You know what? That's like $500 million or more, $550 in today's dollars. Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. We are climbing and climbing and climbing in the charts thanks to you, top 100. Thank you so much. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure, by the way, that you hit the bell and that you hit the bell for all notifications. I know some people said they had a little bit of an issue with that yesterday. We want to make sure that does not happen again. We got a lot going on, as I said, but we begin the show here with Nancy Pelosi under fire. You see, Pam Bondi's coming for her, ladies and gentlemen. Pam Bondi's like, this is not happening. You are not going to be out there completely impeding federal law. It's not allowed. You cannot make the decision to simply say, we are not going to allow for the arrests. In fact, we're going to take it one further because Nancy Pelosi is suggesting, as is many members of the Democrat Party, they're suggesting now that they can arrest ICE agents for doing their job. I mean, what planet are these people on? Did they never take a civics class, for goodness sakes? Apparently not. Here's Pam Bondi making it very clear what's going to happen to Nancy Pelosi and any other Dem that tries to do this stuff.
You cannot disclose the identity of a federal agent, where they live, anything that could harm them. Pritzker, same ballgame with him. And, Pelosi got a letter today from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. So did Brooke Jenkins, that DA in San Francisco. We told them, preserve your emails, preserve everything you have on this topic, because if you are telling people to arrest our ICE officers, our federal agents, you cannot do that. You're impeding an investigation, and we will charge them if they think they have not met me, because we will charge them if they are violating the law. We will protect our federal agents. They're out there working nonstop, as you're showing right now during a shutdown. These people are out there working to keep Californians safe, yet you've got Pelosi out there saying to obstruct their investigation. You can't do it, and we're going to investigate her now, as well as that DA.
Okay, no, you can't. I mean, this is just basic stuff, okay? It should not be that hard, you guys. I'm sort of struck by the utter lack of knowledge when it comes to understanding how the government works, okay? So there's the Supremacy Clause, there's the Commerce Clause, you name it. There's the Immigration Clause. I mean, when it comes to who's in this country, the federal government has all the power. And guess what? Congress is the one that made the law saying you can't just come in, right? We actually have to have borders. And so it is now the federal government's job, the immigration and customs enforcement officers' jobs, right? The ICE agency, DHS, they have to then enforce the federal law, which Congress has put in place. So how does this make any sense that now Nancy Pelosi is going to say, okay, we're going to arrest ICE agents, or you get Pritzker out there saying similar stuff? I mean, these people are bonkers, okay? Just bonkers. And so fine, it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court. Do they think it's going to slow it down? You're going to arrest ICE agents for doing their job? Come on. I mean, you get Letitia James, who, by the way, was in court today. This is good. She just came out yesterday with some wild, wacky stuff, trying to say she wanted everybody to be submitting all of the video they could and the information on ICE agents. She's running around because she's trying to find out or come up with reasons to arrest them. I mean, this is surreal, as Tom Homan points out, but he's already talking to Pam, and he's like, listen, this is impediment, and they're going down.
They're all over this. They're all over this. Now they're looking at, impediment charges, looking at who's funding this stuff, right? Because I'm telling you, it's a matter of time. And I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it because I truly believe it's a matter of time before an ICE agent's ambushed and killed. Because we're letting people know where enforcement activities are occurring. And they're looking for the worst of the worst. The last thing we want to do is give a bad guy, the worst of the worst, a heads up that ICE is down the street. I go to bed every night, and I pray for every man and woman of ICE and Border Patrol to go home safe to their families. I buried too many ICE agents in my career and Border Patrol agents. This has to stop. So Pam Bondi's all over this. I know DOJ's all over this. We'll hold people accountable. This cannot happen. It's disgusting. I can't believe what's going on in this nation today. I wake up every morning in disbelief that people want to call the law enforcement officers the bad guys and the criminal public safety threats the victims. It's ridiculous. It's all upside down. But we're going to keep doing this job and keep President Trump's promise to American people.
Thank you, Tom Homan. But here's the thing. I know he's waking up in disbelief every day, and I'm sitting here kind of shell-shocked as well. But the reality is, you know what? Not everybody's like that. Half the country fully approves of what's going on. And when you look at all the poll numbers now, I mean, people are shocked by this. He's hanging on. Donald Trump is hanging on. Why? Because people see him as strong on the border. They see him as strong on the economy, too. Just look at gas prices. We'll talk about that. Way down, under $3 a barrel nationwide. I know not in California, but you can blame Gavin Newsom. And all those taxes that he puts on for that. But the reality here is, look, ICE has a job to do. ICE is out there doing the job. And when people like Nancy Pelosi and others, Pritzker, whoever, are trying to get in the way of that, you're now creating a situation that some worry really could develop into some kind of civil war. I don't actually worry about that because I know that the Supreme Court is going to say, sorry, tough luck. I mean, look what happened in Portland, Oregon. You had the appeals court out there, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals saying, hey, yeah, you want the National Guard in Oregon? You can put the National Guard in Oregon. And so he won that round. It will likely go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to say, yes, the federal government has the power to do that. Otherwise, you're in a situation where you could have 1963 Alabama all over again, where George Wallace was like, I don't want the National Guard. And the federal government's like, well, you have to integrate your school. You may not want to integrate your school, but guess what? You have to do it. And we have the jurisdiction and the right to make sure that you do. And thus, that's a great example when you need the federal government doing what the federal government does. Here is the president speaking on Sunday with my friend Maria Bartiromo, former colleague at actually both CNBC and Fox Business, saying, hey, I know Pritzker doesn't like it out there in Illinois. And I know that, Gavin Newsom doesn't really like it, but San Francisco needs it. Here's the deal. We're coming in. Tough luck.
But the governor, who got thrown out of his business by his family because he's a dope, but the governor, Pritzker, he doesn't want us in. If I were him, if I were a Democrat and I were him, I'd say, come on in. What do you have to lose?
And you're going to go to San Francisco next.
We're going to go to San Francisco. The difference is I think they want us in San Francisco.
Yeah, not really.
San Francisco was truly one of the great cities of the world.
It was.
And then 15 years ago, it went wrong. It went woke. Remember my statement? Anything woke is, and then I used a filthy, well, broke is another word. I used a filthy word, but I didn't. No. I took enough heat on that. I won't say it again. But
here's the thing. He's coming for San Francisco. He's coming for Portland. They welcomed him in D.C. Did you see that? I mean, the numbers just plunged in D.C. and they're continuing to plunge. I mean, this is good stuff. They're thrilled in Memphis. How many videos have we seen of people in Memphis, Tennessee saying, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the federal government, because now our kids can go outside and play. We can take the dog for a walk. We feel safer. And it's not just being safer. It's also that perception of feeling safer because they have all the National Guard there. So I'm sorry, the train has left the station. Nancy Pelosi, if you're not on board, if you are actually telling people to arrest agents, if any local politicians from Pritzker to Newsom to Brandon Johnson are telling people to arrest ICE agents, Letitia James, I'm looking at you too. You know what's going to happen? You're going to wind up in jail because then you are the problem. You are the one impeding. And this is serious stuff. I mean, Letitia James, for goodness sakes, and her nutty plan to, go after ICE agents because, yes, you have people that are illegally in the country that are illegally selling illegal counterfeit goods down on Canal Street. So her big idea is to try and assemble video of ICE going in and carrying them away. By the way, ICE doing everything the right way, but she's just hoping and praying maybe they don't and that she can arrest them. This is getting really weird, you guys. But what do you expect? I mean, Letitia James, this lady is, how do I say this nicely? Is there any way to say it nicely? I mean, Letitia James is just off her rocker. You have only to look at her outside the courthouse today. She's getting her day in court. And by the way, all the charges formally against her now. She was hit with all of them, right? Because, well, she apparently, according to some of the documentation I have seen, ABC News is reporting a little twist on this, but a lot of people are saying, they're not actually looking at some of the fine print and comparing and contrasting the fact that she had plenty of documents saying these properties were income properties, okay? If you get an income property, you can't apply for a primary mortgage, and you certainly can't apply for a secondary mortgage, Letitia James. You should know that, right? You're a lawyer. But then again, when we look at your history and your family history, dare I say, maybe you just think the law doesn't apply to you. That's my bet. Anyway, here she is, the irony of it all, outside the courthouse today. Remember, this is the woman who campaigned on getting Trump, who promised voters in New York that she would devote every waking moment and minute to getting Donald Trump. She has the audacity to say that this is political against her. Watch.
But this is not about me. This is about all of us. And about a justice system which has been weaponized. A justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge. This justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge.
Well, apparently she was worried you didn't hear it the first time. She had to say it again. She does that a lot. It's almost like Letitia is like channeling Kamala and then trying to do some kind of like inverted version of that because she says the same things over and over and over and over again, the same exact expression. Maybe that's her way of trying to avoid the Kamala word salad. Anyway, it's bad.
And a weapon against those individuals who simply did their job and who stood up for the rule of law.
Oh, she had a few fans out there. That's all you did, right, Letitia? You were just standing up for the rule of law, just doing your job. All while apparently getting like lower mortgage rates on things. I mean, the first one's quite obvious, like the primary residence. Now, she claims that's a clerical error made by her power of attorney. The second one, however, that's actually even more disturbing because she calls it a secondary home, promises that she's actually not going to rent it out in the legal binding document. We've got the mortgage documents I've shown you right here on the show. And then proceeds to call it a financial investment in yet another documentation for her taxes. So, which is it, Tishy baby? I think we know. And this is what, is going to get you in trouble. And I'm sorry, but there's a certain irony, as you know here, given that she's out there outside the courthouse saying this is just political. It's political. It's political. What do you think we all went through? Oh, I'm going to play it, baby.
He's called me venomous. We will fight back to your attempt to bring Trumpism to New York City. He's called me disgraceful. Of the fact that they stole the Supreme Court seat. An illegitimate president and an illegitimate member of the United States Supreme Court. He's called me radical. Listen, we know he's crazy. We know he doesn't have a sound mind. We know he's out of control. We know he's losing it. We know his days are numbered and we will come together. He's called me a racist. We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale.
Thank you.
Oh boy, Tishy. Now what do we do about you? And I had to change the lower third because we said she faces up to 30 years in prison. Actually, she faces up to 60 years in federal prison for these charges. I mean, wow, 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 wow. And yes, you guys are pointing out, I'm looking at your notes here, that she also had a little incident back in 1983 with Daddy. Okay, so she suddenly became Daddy's wife on the mortgage application. I mean, is it me or are we seeing a pattern? We got House 1, just clerical oversight. It's the power of attorney's fault. I mean, she is an attorney. She ought to know better and be checking her power of attorney's work, right? And then the second one, oh, no. That's just some kind of messed up thing because she's applying for a secondary mortgage and yet, okay, so she has it also in her tax records as an income property. Well, if it's an income property, it's a whole different mortgage game, right? She got an 0.8% better a rate, which turned out to be like a $17,000 value over the life of the loan, including something like $3,000 up front when she first did the financing. Wow. Okay. And then there's Daddy's home with her where she became the wife, okay, 1983. And we haven't even gotten into all the nieces living in the two homes in Norfolk, Virginia. And they're horrific past, okay? We're the really, really, really bad criminal records here. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm seeing a pattern, not to mention she seemed to have been housing a fugitive, which actually doesn't come with as much time as what she was doing on the alleged mortgage fraud. You know, yesterday morning, some people caught up with her. This is like Letitia James incognito, and she seems really kind of angry. But let me say, that's a lot of red on screen.
Good morning, Miss James.
No, not talking. She seems angry.
Ms. James, do you have any comments with the ICE raids happening downtown? Does the AG's office have any opportunity to do any?
We sent out information. We need video. Thank you.
Woohoo! So I wonder who pays for the car. In all seriousness, like who pays for the car? I've got to assume it's probably taxpayers because that's how this lady rolls, right? Oh, here's the thing. Look at that. Letitia James on Wednesday unveiling an online portal for residents to tattle on ICE agents. Newsmax had this story. And so that was what one of the reporters was asking about, but she was in too grumpy a mood to answer it. Why? Because she knew she had to be in Norfolk, Virginia with her folk, right? You know, all those nieces that, you know, just kind of had sticky fingers when it came to Dillard's, Macy's. Was Walmart in there too? You wonder why some of these companies are pulling out of some of these cities, right? Ooh, yeah. So she's trying to get people to tattle, and the whole time she's under a microscope herself, all right? So the ICE thing is bad. You've got Nancy Pelosi under fire for that from Pam Bondi. You've now got Letitia James under fire for that from Pam Bondi. You've also got Letitia James in court today facing the music, if you would, because Letitia James is going to have to effectively answer to all of these things. I mean, I don't know how she's going to explain, for example, this second home. I mean, we've talked about these bombshell records. I'm going to pull the computer a little bit closer to me so I can just walk you through this. This is the second home rider. And she dated this August 17th, 2020. And apparently it said that in addition to the covenants and agreements made in the security instrument, she basically is promising, in terms of occupancy, that she will occupy and use the property as her second home, that she will maintain exclusive control over the occupancy of the property, including short-term rentals. Short-term, not long-term, okay? Short-term. That's like Airbnb style, okay? So she signs up for the second mortgage as a secondary home, and then it turns out in the tax documents, it's something else entirely. So this is a problem. This is a problem. And listen, you know, she's like, oh, they're going after me. They're going after me because poor little me. I'm sorry, Tishy baby. I remember when you said this.
Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud. New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
So what was that about? It was about trying to bankrupt someone. And gosh darn it, she nearly did it. I mean, you're talking $500 million that she wanted. I mean, we do have this thing called the Eighth Amendment, where the crime and punishment kind of have to be somewhat in sync, and that's why the appellate court of the state of New York threw that one out like one hot puppy. Boom, done, over. And now she's going back and she's suing again. I mean, this woman is like a rabid individual, and she thinks that everything has been weaponized against her, as though she never weaponized anything against one Donald Trump.
I watch the fake news, and he's weaponized, and he wants to send them to prison. He wants all this. They indicted me like 5 times. I took a mugshot. Who would have thought it turned out to my favor? Because it was a good shot. But I had to take a mugshot. It's right out there on the door. New York Post, front page of every paper in the world. I had a mugshot. They wanted to send me. Nobody says that. They say, he's acting very, very tough. He's acting unfair. Let me tell you, if anything, I think this Justice Department has been so respectful of the law, because the other Justice Department, with Rita or Lisa and all of that scum, real scum, what they did to the political opponent of a guy that has a seriously low IQ. Now, in his case, it was low.
Talking about Biden.
Based on his career, but it got real low, okay?
Mental health decline.
It was descending rapidly.
Yep.
But what they did to go after his political opponent is legendary. Worse than any third world country, banana republic.
It actually is. He's right. It's like worse than any banana republic that we've seen. Of course, they didn't actually succeed in getting him in jail. I mean, that's like very, very banana republic stuff. But now you look around, like, I think that there are going to be some players that are going to be in trouble. And look, it happened before, right? Think what happened to Steve Bannon. Think about what happened to Peter Navarro. Think about what they put anybody who was associated with Donald Trump through. Think about the 30 million phone records that they were gathering on anybody that had interaction with anybody Trump. I'm sure I was in that, right? Think about the debanking that went on. I mean, there were like a ton of things. And think about how much they lied to us over and over and over again. And Letitia James, for you to sit there and cry victim as though you somehow are being unfairly targeted, when I don't know who the heck does that on mortgage documents, I'll tell you. Adam Schiff, I don't know who the heck says they have 2 primary homes. I once lived in California, had a home in New Hampshire. Guess what? It was my vacation home, even though I lived full-time in California. Because guess what? You know what? You can't have, I had a rental, by the way, even though I had a rental in California, you can't have 2 primary homes. I mean, why weren't the banks getting freaked out? You got to ask yourself that question too. Anyway, Letitia promised to go after Trump on the campaign trail. You saw the montage. Here's another one. I love what Byron Donalds has to say about her. By the way, Byron's got a big political future. Don't doubt me on that one. He's fantastic, former financial advisor. He actually understands markets and the economy. I love him. Here he is talking about Tishy.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
Boom.
Congressman Donald, she said this is nothing to see here, it's just retribution, but that sounds like retribution.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Her entire campaign for Attorney General of New York was to go after one man, and that one man was Donald Trump. She was letting real criminals go. She was letting them go scot-free in New York, but she ran just to go after President Trump, and it's wrong. It's a misuse of power, abuse of power. And now we find out that she was not on the up and up with her personal documents, and now she wants to feign outrage. Well, look, this is very simple. If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. It's real simple. But unfortunately, Letitia James, she's indicted because it appears that, yes, she was defrauding mortgage companies to get a favorable down payment and a favorable interest rate. And she thought nobody was going to check.
Yeah. Well, she weaponized the whole thing. She's actually, there are some within the Democrat circle. This is why she's like so into Mamdani right now. Comrade Mamdani is like the only one who's going to support her, along with Kathy Hochul, who's a political animal herself. But in the state of New York, you have a lot of people that are saying, hey, Tishy, baby, you got to resign because this is really, really bad. I mean, think about the Wisconsin judge who was forced to resign because, hey, when you're the judge and you're saying, oh, just slip out my back door because I don't care what you may or may not have done to your wife. I don't care about the domestic abuse allegations going on. We just care that, oh, it's going to be bad because you got ICE waiting outside. So let me give you a pass. Well, that is direct violation of federal law, and you're a judge. You can't really be doing that, right? So the Supreme Court there in Wisconsin said, bye-bye, see you later. Well, how can you have an attorney general that is allegedly guilty of some pretty serious stuff, on top of which she's now trying to arrest ICE agents? I mean, this is going to get messy really, really fast. And so most of New York is not like New York City. Most of New York has no use for this woman. Most of New York is like, bye. I mean, they hate her more than they hate Schumer, which is saying a lot. And so she's trying to glom onto New York City and Mamdani and hopefully Kathy Hochul, who, by the way, is also underwater on her polls. So a lot of folks, like deep down in the party, are saying, maybe we need to back away from this. Maybe it would be better if she just resigned because, again, all this stuff is going to come back to haunt her. Like, the 1983 mortgage document. Are you looking at it? I'm looking at it. If you are listening to the show on Spotify, thank you. We are also on video on Spotify. Actually, incidentally, guys, I put that link at the very tippy top. That's like the West Coast repeat. We always go there after. So please make sure that you subscribe to my Spotify channel. It's important, even just from an ego standpoint, because I'm at like 14,000 subs there. We're at 1.1 million here. So help me out. Show me some love. I am looking at the mortgage document between Robert James and Letitia James, his wife. Oh, that's a little strange. I mean, she was his daughter, not his wife, okay? His daughter. So I'm a little bit troubled. Are you a little bit troubled? I think we're all just sort of thinking, Letitia, you just kind of, you've worn out your welcome, so to speak here. We're getting a little bit tired of this. Letitia James back in 1983 making the choice, the really bad choice, to sign onto a mortgage document with her father as though she were his wife. Because why? Maybe he needed to show that he had some kind of steady income and she was by then out working. And so that may have been the thinking. It's kind of like, I hate to say this, but when you look at the nieces, right? And you see that the nieces have all of their problems. And you see that there's this kind of mentality, especially within some of this DEI nonsense mindset, that you're kind of owed something, right? That it's yours to take. That, when these protests were going on during the summer of 2020, that it was the, duty of the insurance companies to pay for all the damage done, that somehow people were entitled to take things because they deserved it, right? Because, I'm sorry, they would say the color of their skin and therefore they're owed reparations, etc. I'm not buying that. You know what? You stand on your own 2 damn feet every single day in this world. I never bought for 2 seconds that I couldn't have as successful a show because I'm a woman. Hey, if anything, I think I'm in better shape because women like women and men like women. So, hey, I got a bigger pool to choose from. Thank you very much. I've never bought any of this, not for 2 seconds. I mean, hey, you want to put me in a race against a naturally born man? Yeah, I'm going to lose that all day long. But when it comes to intellectual power, etc., no. The fact that I'm a woman, the fact that I grew up on a dirt road in a little town in New Hampshire, none of that matters. Because what matters in this country, in our economy, is our wonderful and great meritocracy. But I look at somebody like Letitia James and I think, you're a lawyer. Like, what was going through your head that you thought it was okay in 1983 to sign up with daddy as his wife? Because somehow you think you're entitled? Isn't she the one that told us over and over again how there can't be a different set of rules for people? Yeah, I do believe that I heard that quite a few times from one Letitia James when she was asked about this case that she now is trying to file. Oh, I'm not guilty, I'm just the victim. She was asked about this by an MSNBC host, one that looks just like Rachel Maddow. I mean, it's unbelievable. It is uncanny how they pick their hosts over there at MSNBC. You know, at Fox, they say you got to be blonde. At MSNBC, you got to look like Rachel Maddow. Here's Chris Hayes asking Tishy about just exactly what went down. She doesn't want to answer anything.
I will respond to these baseless allegations at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way, but I am 100% confident that it will not result in any criminal indictment or action against me, and that it is nothing more than a revenge tour, and that Donald Trump just ultimately got to the J's, and I was next.
The key allegation, again, it sounds like you don't want to address them here, but I'm just going to put it out so people understand that a property that was owned in Virginia, and a mortgage that you signed, if I'm not mistaken, for that property, that they say you falsely represented yourself as a resident of Virginia, and that was essentially amounts to mortgage fraud since you're a resident of New York. What is your response to that?
It's baseless. Everybody knows I'm a resident of New York, specifically Brooklyn. And again, we will respond at the appropriate time in the appropriate way to these baseless allegations. And some media outlets like the Daily News over the weekend has indicated as much.
That's all you want to say?
That's all that I'm going to say.
He's like, well, I don't know where to go from here. That's all she's going to give me. That's all she's going to say, because you see, she was saving it up. She was saving it up for her big day outside the courthouse where she told us nothing, right? She just went on and on about, I'm the victim now. I'm the victim. No one is buying it, Tish.
But this is not about me. This is about all of us.
No,
and about
it's about you.
Justice system which has been weaponized. A justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge. This justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge.
Again, repeating herself.
And a weapon against those individuals who simply did their job and who stood up for the rule of law.
Save it for the judge, honey. Okay, you're going to need that defense. You're going to need some money, too. Abby Lowell costs a pretty penny, I hear. That's why she's hitting up the legal defense fund. You see, she could only get $1 million, it seems, out of New York taxpayers, even though Kathy Hochul had set aside $10 million for her. The thing is, it didn't look that good, right? It just didn't look good because it's a personal matter. And so she was going to be taking New York taxpayer money for a personal matter. So now she has to go and hit up all these big, donor types, and she'll probably get the money. Hey, I mean, there's more George Soroses out there than you'd think. Plus the Reid Hoffmans, et cetera. There are a lot of people that are willing to help bankroll her, and it's kind of gross, but it is where we are, and it is just, part of what's happening. Hey, you know what else is happening? CNN is about to be sold. So there's a big article this week in the Hollywood Reporter. There was another big article, actually, in the New York Times. It was even better because they talked about 3 offers, all from the same company. All from David Ellison. David Ellison is the son of Larry Ellison, one of the wealthiest guys in the world, good friend of President Trump. And David Ellison, you see, he now owns Paramount. That Paramount deal with Skydance where they bought CBS, well, now he's got CBS, he's got Paramount, and he's swooping in for the kill, and he wants Warner Brothers Discovery. But it's bad for CNN. It's bad for CNN because you see, nobody actually wants CNN. By the way, Warner Brothers Discovery really, really does not want Ellison buying it. Because, again, per the New York Times story, he made 3 offers. And they're like, And so now they say they've got other interests. We're not so sure about that. There are reports that Comcast maybe would be interested. But Comcast, what are you thinking? I mean, you got enough problems of your own. Right? Heck, you're spinning off MSNBC because you can't wait to get rid of Rachel Maddow and company. So that probably wouldn't work for you. There's talk of, Comcast out there, maybe a few others possibly circling. I'm not entirely sure that I buy all this interest. I think this is partly an effort, if you would, from Zaslav. And by the way, he's doing the right thing. He wants to get the most money for shareholders, trying to drum up more interest out there. I will say this, you know what? If this actually happens, guess what? Guess what? CNN is most likely going to go away. And that's because the company is really not an asset anymore. It doesn't make any money. It's kind of a headache. You've already got CBS News, right? So focus on streaming. You don't want to join CNN and CBS because then you're suddenly victim to all the crazy things that CNN might say on the air, possibly affecting your business at CBS because the FCC has jurisdiction over CBS, whereas they don't have jurisdiction over CNN. But, and this is what MSNBC and NBC quickly found out, it doesn't sit that well when you have one team of anchors constantly bashing the president and spouting fake news, and then you have the network, well, let's face it, they were doing that too, right? I mean, that's what the 60 Minutes lawsuit was about. And that's what over at ABC, the George Stephanopoulos $16 million settlement was about because they were spouting fake news on FCC-controlled airwaves. But, why do you want to commingle these two things? I think the short answer is they don't. The short answer is these guys are going to go bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. So I would say that all of the talent at CNN, their days are numbered. Who's the one that just bought that home in Nantucket, kind of a pricey home? Is it Caitlin Collins? Ooh, Caitlin. I wouldn't be scooping up any more extra properties right about now. And didn't I tell you Jake Tapper was going to be done? Why else was he suddenly coming out with a book, pretending the entire time that somehow he had nothing to do with the propping up of one Joe Biden, despite the fact that, we saw this over and over again, right? Do you remember the clip where he did this really nasty turn on Lara Trump saying, how dare you accuse Joe Biden of being mentally incompetent? Have you never heard of a stutter?
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to watch somebody on stage search for
it's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering,
mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
No, you don't. You're just a jerk. I mean, the guy's like, I'm sorry. He's a sorry excuse for a journalist. He's a hitman for the Democrat Party. I mean, I don't know how else to describe that. His buddies like David Plouffe and what's his name, Rhodes. I mean, like these are his buddies, right? Along with George Clooney, who he got close with because, they had to do some kind of takedown of Biden at some point. Yeah, that really worked out well for you, right? The Democrat Party really appreciated that you took out the guy that they actually elected. Yeah, voters really loved that one. Guys, like, you lost the union vote on that, okay? Like, that was not a brilliant move by any standard. But he's not a brilliant guy. He really isn't, and he definitely is not much of a personality or a looker on television. I'm sorry to be so mean, but voice matters. You don't have to have the looks. I'll be fair. You know what? But voice actually matters. Content, truth, fairness matters. And this idiot had the audacity to then say, oh, I was wrong. Biden's bad. And then wrote a book about it.
there is a pattern, discernible pattern of Democratic officials seemingly trying to convince you, the public, to not believe what you saw and what you heard with your eyes and with your ears on Thursday night.
What I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
That was the line when Trump was like, oh, I don't know about that. I mean, he beat it to death, right? It was surreal watching that debate. By the way, Joe Biden, clearly no sense of self. And clearly Dr. Jill Biden had no sense of self, nor any sense of her husband, because if anybody had two brain cells, they never actually would have allowed him on stage to do that debate. Okay, just saying. Because you completely exposed. The emperor has no clothes. Like, that was then very, very apparent to everyone. And so what does Jake do? He suddenly realizes he can't go and just attack Lara Trump anymore, or all of us. You had KJP out there saying we were fake news, right? Because we were showing you the videotapes of him not knowing when to sit when he was in Normandy, of him at G7 wandering off because, like a little kid, he got kind of interested in the balloon over there. So he wanders off. Giorgia Meloni, gracious Prime Minister of Italy, beautiful woman, really great conservative, will do wonders for that country, trust me. She brings him back. I mean, lovely, lovely, gracious woman. She's like the only one who noticed, right? Macron's like, huh? They're all like looking at the camera, waiting for their shot as Joe Biden wanders off and he tries to put on his sunglasses like a little old man that he was. All right, so we show you that here on the Trish Regan Show. And KJP, who's out with a new book and is just a mess, one hot mess. She's like, oh, they're just cheap fakes. No, there's nothing fake about it. You guys were the cheap fakes. Cheap. For that matter. Anyway, MSNBC, they're also in a situation where they're going to find themselves. We did this story the other day. You can go and look it up. They totally embarrassed themselves over those archive photos. It's like they don't even know what's an archive, what's not an archive. We have a chapter on it on the channel, so I encourage you to do that. But I'm just going to say this. Whether you're talking about CNN in this new world, the talent's not going to survive. They're just not going to survive. Or whether you're talking about MSNBC talent, they're also not going to survive. I actually think these two have more survival instincts than you'd think. Watch.
Now, whenever this happens, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, you never know. But I actually think those two will survive, right? The whole Mar-a-Lago, kissing in the ring thing, they're trying to act like they care about the conservative agenda. They're no fools. So they're trying desperately to cling to their jobs. The one that's actually really going to be in trouble, the one that they didn't really explain this new spin-off to with Versant, that could actually be Rachel Maddow. We saw in the media reports that she didn't even know how to say, well, can you blame her? It's like Ms. Now. Ms. Now, MS Now. She didn't know how to say it. By the way, is it not funny that they're going with the red, white, and blue thing over the rainbow? What's that about? Oh, I wonder. I think we all know. But you know what? Fine. There's a sea change going on, and if they want to jump on board with red, white, and blue, heck, I'll welcome them. But the reality is, even the red, white, and blue won't save them. They have already dug their own grave, and they will be a disaster in this spinoff, including people like Rachel Maddow, who I don't think will actually be able to survive. And it's from the simple fact that she costs too much money. Right? Like, you can't make $25 million, reportedly. That's what she gets for one show a week. So what are they paying? To put her picture on a billboard? Nobody watches her. Like, no one. Like, the ratings are actually horrific. I mean, they might be a smidge better than Jen Psaki, Peppermint Patty, but that's not saying a whole lot now, is it? Yeah, because Jen's way down. I mean, they have miserable ratings at that network, and they can't afford to do this. So in this new media world, these cable companies, like a CNN, like an MSNBC, are totally challenged. And I suspect when Skydance, Paramount, gets in there and buys up CNN, poof, gone is CNN. They're actually buying it for Warner Brothers Discovery. They don't want CNN. They're going to get rid of it. And by the way, if they strike a deal where they don't actually purchase CNN, CNN is still really in tough shape. I was going to say something else, but I won't. Really in tough shape. You know why? They can't make any money. So they are going to spin it off, just like they're doing with MSNBC. They will spin it off, and poor Jakey and poor Anderson Cooper and the rest of them, Caitlin Collins, right? They're not going to be able to afford those fancy homes in Nantucket anymore. They're going to actually have to play in the real world and make a more modest salary. Or, hey, come over to the dark side. It's pretty good over here on YouTube. Start a podcast. Listen, I got to tell you, poor Rachel, she is now the subject of an AI meme that is absolutely hysterical because you see, it turns out that her own company, Comcast, that's the one that's the parent company of MSNBC, they actually were one of the sponsors of the ballroom. So you know how Trump is redoing the East Wing and all these people on MSNBC and all these Democrats are so upset about it. He's destroying history. The East Wing historically has been used for first ladies. Well, he decided he wanted to renovate and he was going to go out and spend a fair amount of money, like $300 million. But he said, you know what? I'm not going to charge the taxpayers. I'm going to get corporate America to fund this thing. Okay? And that's what he did. So you have companies like, what do you know? Take a look. Comcast. There they are, right underneath Caterpillar and Coinbase. You've got Comcast Corporation helping to pay for the $300 million renovation. That would be Rachel Maddow's MSNBC employer. So there's now this AI meme. They took like some little segment of her show where she started like basically crying on the air. And it's just kind of funny. It's of course a joke, but let's watch it together.
Oh, hold on. To at least 3.
Oh boy.
Can we put up the graphic of this?
There's the graphic. You see
Thank
Comcast?
You. Do we have it?
Beautiful.
I think I'm going to have to hand this off. Yeah.
Oh, poor Rachel. Poor Rachel. That really stinks when your own company is one of the donors. There you go. There's the whole list. Take a look at that, guys. So, you know what's amazing here? He's actually not spending any taxpayer dollars. He's doing a $300 million renovation. No taxpayer money involved. Don't tell that to ABC. I mean, the ladies on The View, they forgot to do their little legal checks. Whoopi Goldberg lying again.
Your taxes are probably going to be paying for that.
That ballroom.
I mean, it's kind of kooky.
No, you know what's kooky? You trying to lie because Donald Trump has said over and over and over again, he's got private funding for the thing. And by the way, it's pretty. Just saying. Prettier than her hairdo anyway. Anyway, they are flipping out. And it's really interesting because I'm going to show you sort of a vintage clip from 2010 of CNN being ecstatic because Barack Obama decided to get rid of the tennis court and put in a basketball court at the White House, along with renovating his abode there because he and Michelle couldn't possibly live in such squalor as the White House was at that point. So they went forward with a $376 million renovation, which in 2012 actually equates to, if you factor in about a 45% increase in costs during that time. Yeah, I told you we had inflation. Somewhere between $520 and $550 million. So $500 million renovation paid for by you and me and every American taxpayer. That's not what Donald Trump is doing at all. And yet, my gosh, they think they got a dog with a bone here. Look at Schumer on his TikTok. Who even knew he had a TikTok?
The American people are suffering in the greatest healthcare crisis we faced in decades. And what is Donald Trump focused on? Destroying the East Wing of the White House, which these two men built. It's another ego project for Donald Trump. He wants to feed his enormous ego and ignore the suffering of the American people. What a disgrace.
Oh, what a disgrace. You know, you guys are a disgrace. You're trying to make more of this than it should be. Again, this is the East Wing. It was the First Lady's sort of headquarters way back when. Like if you go back to World War II era, it actually had been used for some military planning and staging, but it's gotten kind of run down. In 1970, Rosalind Carter remodeled it to become the East Wing for the First Lady. And since then, it's kind of just really sort of sat there. So he's like, hey, I'm going to make a ballroom. I'll get it paid for by corporate America and individual donors, and everybody freaks out. I mean, go back to 2010. I don't see them freaking out when Obama got rid of the tennis court and put in a basketball court and decided to redo the family quarters because, you know, he and Michelle couldn't possibly live in a dump like that. And then they charged you in today's dollars, $500,000, billion, forgive me, $520 to $550 billion in today's dollars to do it. And gosh darn it, the CNN reporters are cheering it on like it's manna from heaven.
Sounds like they're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years.
Woohoo!
All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
Woo!
It's
Yippee.
a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
520 in today's dollars, okay, to $550 million. Nobody squawked. Nobody said boo. The media was thrilled. So what changed? Oh, we know what changed, okay? We know exactly what changed. It's TDS on steroids. It is who is in office. It's fine for Obama to spend your money, but it's not okay for President Trump to spend individual donors' money. They're all flipping out. This is not acceptable. Give me a break. You know what's great? Oh, there's a great clip I got to show you from this morning because another one of my former colleagues, this guy's a good guy, actually, Joe Kernan, if you watch CNBC, it's fantastic because he's actually the only conservative on there, really. And, you know, when it comes to economics and financial reporting, it's actually hard not to be a conservative. I'll take that back because you get some others like Santelli, who's pretty conservative as well. Anyway, Joe's a good guy. He had Hakeem Jeffries on. And, you know, Hakeem, he got really beaten up on this clip. I mean, it is fantastic. This is what we call must-see TV. Occasionally you have these moments in cable, believe it or not. And you know I got to bring it to you. Let's watch Hakeem Jeffries as he tries to justify ridiculously this shutdown. Kernan's not having it.
But Leader Jeffries, you kind of conflated a spending bill with a clean CR. It's only 24 pages. It keeps the government open at this point. And the House passed it. It's ready to go. The Senate has it. I know that the Republicans control everything, but you know how the filibuster works. And God forbid Republicans, fold on the filibuster because it'll be used, both parties will use it against the other. It's one of the last safeguards that make the Senate different than the House. And the only reason the Senate can't do it is purely because of Democrats. And you had one of your colleagues in the Senate say, this is the only leverage we have. People are going to get hurt. This is the only leverage we have to get what we want on health care. That's a bad look.
Yeah, this is not about leverage. And by the way, if the votes of Democratic senators are required, then of course there should be a bipartisan discussion about enacting a spending bill that is designed to actually make life better for the American people, lower the high cost of living in an environment where Donald Trump and Republicans promised that costs were going to go down on day one. Costs aren't going down. Inflation is moving in the wrong direction. The Trump tariffs are causing thousands of dollars of additional expense on everyday Americans. Grocery costs have gone up. Housing costs are going up. Electricity bills are through the roof. And now people are tens of millions of people are facing dramatically increased health care premiums. In some instances, $1,000 or $2,000 more per month. These are working class people. This is unaffordable. And of course, it's a crisis that is before us right now.
But what changed from when the Democrats said we will not negotiate when the government is shut down on health care? Not now, reopen the government, then we'll negotiate. That happened in 2013. What happened, what changed since then to where we are now, where you can use a government shutdown to extract concessions from Republicans?
We are not using a government shutdown to extract any concessions. We want to reopen the government immediately. Donald Trump has refused to meet with Democrats over the last 24 days.
He said open it first.
He spent more time on the golf course than he has actually talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill. He's found time to demand that the Department of Injustice give him $230 million in taxpayer money. He's found time to bail out a right-wing wannabe dictator in Argentina with $40 billion. He's found time to demolish the East Wing of the White House in the most horrific way possible because he wants to erect a ballroom so he can be celebrated like a king. He's found time for all of these different things, but somehow can't be bothered to reopen the government or can't be bothered to find a dime to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, it's hard. Let me just tell you. And I worked at CNBC for years. I worked at Bloomberg Television for years. I worked at Fox. I worked at CBS. When I was at CNBC, I was at NBC News as well. So look, I've seen it all. I was even at one point somebody who would go on Good Morning America and talk about the economy there. So like, I get it. I know the constraints that these anchors are put. This is why I love it over here, right? Like, make sure you subscribe, share, like, and hit the bell and say you want all notifications. But it's a whole different ball game over here. So like Hakeem, well, actually, I wouldn't have let him get away with even that on my show, but he probably wouldn't come back on my show. So they have to play this little dance, right? But I love that Joe pointed out, hey, why didn't you guys make a fuss way back when? Like, why is it suddenly now? I mean, we know the answer. It's TDS. And then he starts to go on, oh, he's giving $40 million, forgive me, to Argentina. Part of that, by the way, guys, is because the U.S. and U.S. investors have a lot of money invested in Argentina. It goes back to the Brady bonds. I actually used to work at Goldman Sachs many years ago and traded Argentine. We were trading Argentine, we were trading Mexican, Venezuelan, and Brazilian bonds. So I know a lot about this stuff. And because we have an investment there, it's important that Argentina succeed for us, right? Like when Milei got elected, guess what? U.S. markets went way up because we have investments there. So that's actually a little bit more complicated than Hakeem Jeffries wants to make it to be. So there's that. And then there's, of course, the ballroom, which is such a point of contention. Guys, we're not paying for it. I love it. He's making it look a lot better. And why wouldn't you want that? Well, they don't want it because they don't want anything that makes him look good, period. Right? They just want to go back to their mantra of we need more money, we need more money, we need more money. Heck, he's willing to give you National Guard in some of your worst cities. You don't want that money. You just want your money that you can control and that you can then, I guess, give out to illegal migrants. Well, that's what you did in California. And according to Dr. Oz, this is important. This is what they just found, like a lot of money that's been going directly to illegals. Watch.
There have been accusations by the Democrats that that's not really a thing, that money from the federal government's not going to illegal immigrants. Maria, just in the last few months, in the few states that we've examined, less than half a dozen, we've identified more than $1 billion with a B, more than $1 billion of money, federal tax dollars that have gone to illegal immigrants. We're actually clawing that money back from those states now. But the fact that that could still happen is very frustrating to all of us. And why would you want to repeal that after all the work that was put into ensuring that these programs that work so well for vulnerable populations would remain intact financially?
Yeah, did you hear that? $1 billion. That's a lot of money, you guys. $1 billion. And you know what's even more money? What's even more money is what they're trying to do with the $1.5 trillion. That's how much they want. And even though they say, oh no, the federal government cannot give any money to anybody who's here illegally, they give it to the states. And when they give it to the states, guess what? The states then give it out to the hospitals for illegal healthcare. And that's why we learned that California in particular had been given out more than $600 billion. So we're talking about a ton of money. It's not acceptable. We can't afford it. It's bonkers. And yet they keep doing it. I mean, it's really kind of a travesty. And this is the same party, mind you, that years ago would say things like, oh, yeah, I mean, clearly, we cannot have the welfare system from Mexico happening here in this country. This was like a Dianne Feinstein talking point. You go back, I could play a tape, I won't, but I'll play a tape one of these days. I think I've done it in the past of Hillary Clinton, of Barack Obama, all saying the same thing. Bill Clinton saying the same thing. Gosh, they'd sound like fascists in today's world, right? Because they said we can't just keep bringing people here. Like, it's not right. There's legal immigration and there's illegal immigration. So we got enough problems, right? right? And on top of that, we're dealing with high costs for healthcare as it is. I mean, Big Pharma is a big part of this, and they should be held accountable, and they're going to be held accountable because I'll tell you, President Trump's doing what no other president has done before. I'm happy to partner with conservatives for lower healthcare on this one because Big Pharma and its army of lobbyists have been working overtime to keep Americans paying the world's highest drug prices. Like, how does that happen? Why? In a country like ours, are we paying the most? It's terrible. They've already, even before Trump came into office, they were hiking prices on all kinds of drugs, hundreds of medicines this year, while flooding the market with billions of dollars worth of marketing that goes on all those mainstream media and cable news outlets. Yeah, I told you, I can't watch the news with my kids anymore, not that I want to. But the point being, they spend a lot of money marketing. And they should be actually trying to reduce costs for everyday Americans. They're pushing, these government mandates, for goodness sakes, which are designed to stack the deck in their favor. And so the goal in Washington is simple: escape accountability, block free market competition, jack up outrageous prices. And that means more government intrusion, more government regulation, bigger profits for them, and higher costs for everyday families and businesses. So that's not acceptable. Conservatives for lower healthcare costs is warning right now that Big Pharma has an agenda that's going to stick American employers and Americans, everyday folks, with billions of dollars in higher premiums and higher drug costs. And President Trump isn't backing down. He's serious about this. The administration is serious about this. They want lower drug costs. They don't want Americans to be gouged. So there's a lot that can happen. We need to introduce reforms to stop Big Pharma's games, to stop them from allowing generics, which obviously keep prices high. If you don't allow the generics, for goodness sakes, and yes, you get high prices. So join me here in rejecting Big Pharma's agenda. Visit pharmawindfall.com. I put it up on the screen today to help lower drug prices. This is important. Yeah, I get angry about it. I do. But here's some good news. The mainstream media being forced to admit that, hey, what do you know? The guy that they so hate, the dictator, whatever they want to call him, he's doing kind of a good job on gas prices. Is he not? And we got a lower than expected read on inflation too. What do you know? They had to admit this on Good Morning America. It's priceless. Watch.
And how low can they go?
Ooh, we are looking at these lower prices. So from the skies to the roads we go here. Gas Buddy saying that the national average price of gasoline fell to less than $3 yesterday. That's the lowest intraday level since 2021. They fluctuate throughout the day. But seasonal factors could drive prices even lower. Gas Buddy's forecasting a national average in the 280s by the end of the year. This morning, dozens of states are already seeing averages under $3. If you're in southern states, so we're talking about Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, or even Mississippi, you're in luck right now because prices are in the 250s. But drivers in California, Hawaii, and Washington, they're still seeing prices at the pump over $4 right now. So we got to work on that. Gas Buddy saying that it's all due to increased oil production from OPEC this year, weaker demand, and inflation finally easing. So let's hope this trend continues.
Yeah. Take that, Chuck Schumer. Oh my gosh. Why? Because it's drill, baby, drill. Okay? When you drill, and when you create incentives to indicate that you're going to drill some more, guess what? Oil prices come down, gas prices come down. And now what are we looking at? Lower inflation as well. Let's go to my buddy Santelli. I told you, one of two conservatives over there at CNBC, so give him some credit for that, saying, take a look at these numbers. CPI, I love it.
The market should be excited, too. Here's our late but coming out September read on the Consumer Price Index. Headline number up 0.3, 1/10 cooler than both rearview mirror and what we were expecting. And if we look at the stripping out of food and energy known as core, it comes in also a bit less than expected, up 0.2. We were expecting up 0.3. Our last look was up 0.3. Here's the Moneyball numbers. Year over year, 3%. And even though it's less than the 3.1 we were expecting, it's hotter than 2.9. And after all, it's got a 3 handle. And if we look at CPI year over year ex food and energy, it also comes in at 3%. We're also expecting 3.1, but last look was 3.1, so it cooled a bit. So we're seeing interest rates move down and stocks move up.
Interest rates move down and stocks move up. Hey, guess what, mainstream media? Hey, guess what, Democrats? Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. He's winning. It's working. I mean, it's so great. It's just great to see this. By the way, market ending the day higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up better than 1%. NASDAQ up 1.15%. You had the S&P up trading at nearly 0.8%. Nice way to go out the week. By the way, if you have not, please make sure you go and check out 76research.com. This is my company. I started with a dear friend. Very, very important you look at this because there's a lot of opportunity in this market. I've been telling you till I'm blue in the face. I've told you, right? If Trump won, whoo, we are off and running. So please take a look at some of our portfolios. We have 3 portfolios right now. Great numbers there. Please take a look at that. Or you can just get the 76 report with code word dollar. It's $1 for the first 2 months and it goes to $9.95. Great stuff happening for sure. Meanwhile, they're freaking out in Canada. They're freaking out in Canada. My lower third is freaking out here too. Let me see if I can get that one up for you. So they're freaking out in Canada. I'm sorry for all our Canadian viewers. You know I love you. But we got a little bit of a thing going on, right? Because apparently Canada's government decided to misuse or misquote Ronald Reagan. And they did this to try and influence American opinion on these Canadian tariffs. So that was not so appreciated, shall we say, by the Reagan team. Like the library was like, wait a second, like he's being taken out of context here. It was also not so appreciated by one Donald Trump. So what did Donald Trump do? He said, I'm cutting off talks. No more trade talks with Canada right now. Well, he's busy. He's got to go to Asia anyway, right? Take a look.
Next one, sir. Trump announced all trade talks with Canada have been called off because of an alleged fake ad that showed Ronald Reagan bad-mouthing tariffs. Okay, the president's angry about this. He immediately just said, no more talks with Canada. But where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, the president, I'm sure, has his reasons. There have been a lot of talks with Canada. I've been involved in some of them. And I think the president probably more than anything is frustrated with the progress that he's making with Canada. And sometimes when you're frustrated, a timeout is the right call. And the president's saying no talks with Canada. I would guess that at some point between now and the end of his term, he'll talk to Canada again. But yes, right now, I think there's been frustration with the behavior of the Canadians, the demeanor of the Canadians, the positions of the Canadians. And so it's probably a good time to take a break for a little while.
Okay, so we're taking a little break, okay? It's not the end of the world. We're going to take a little break. Canada, I have a feeling we'll find a way to work it out. We always do, right? I don't think anybody takes it that seriously. The markets wouldn't be up if we thought, all HELL was breaking loose with Canada. By the way, we've had a little bit of HELL breaking loose with some of those vessels, right? In the Caribbean, another one taken out. We got that video earlier this morning. They're not messing around. Like Monroe Doctrine, alive and well. Thank you very much. It's taken a while, but hey, you don't mess around in our hemisphere. You don't. And they're very, very, very serious about this. I love that they're so serious about this because, it really is something that needs to be dealt with. And again, he's there. He's there to win. This is Trump 2.0. We're on the front lines of history here every day. Please make sure you subscribe, share, like. Make sure you make a comment. I do actually look at all of those, believe it or not. And make sure when you subscribe that you hit all the notifications. It's so important because I want you to be here when I'm live. Go over, check out the Spotify channel. I am going to be around over the weekend. Donna's on my case to do one of those member chats. I will try to do that. Because I love what you guys have been able to help me do on this channel, and I appreciate everything that you do. So we will connect very soon, if not over the weekend, certainly on Monday, again, live. Have a wonderful one. Enjoy. God bless America.